Here we go. I'm live. Not sure what this looks like or what this sounds like. Hopefully, I'm not shouting into your ear right now. But good evening. It's Outside the Box Inc. here. Finally got a little setup in my new kitchen to have a go at some longer videos. I figured I'd give this live stream a go. So what I have going tonight is Parmesan chicken and broccoli casserole, and camera setup is pretty basic. So I have a lot of different things going on in the background, but I do have some good tunes rolling as well. So I'm just going to plug away and get dinner started and talk as I go. But I sure hope this message finds you all well and hungry, and hopefully this may inspire you to try a nice filling casserole that's full of healthy things as well. My kiddo loves broccoli. She loves Parmesan cheese. She's not too keen on chicken, but I'm hoping I can change that. Oh, she loves rice too, so it's kind of the best of all worlds. So as I go here, I have the rice steaming off. I think probably about 10 minutes left of that. Got myself a new little stock pot. Well, it's not a stock pot, it's a sauce pot. And before I get rolling on this, just want to make a comment about nonstick surfaces. This is the first nonstick pan that I've had since the late 90s, and the reason why is because I absolutely destroyed them accidentally because I did not realize that you can't use metal utensils on that kind of a surface. Obviously, it scratches it, compromises it. So I've got this nifty little silicone coated whisk that I use for this specific pan, and I forgot how much I really enjoy nonstick surfaces, but it's actually really important for your health not to scratch the surface, because once it is scratched, um, uh, basically the toxins that make it nonstick are released into your food. And so, yeah, just note to self if you didn't know that already. So this is a little bit different recipe than I've never made this version. It kind of starts off with mixing some milk with some flour, and then in the meantime getting some milk, 3 cups of milk to a boil, so over medium-high heat. So I'll go ahead and get started, and it's been quite a few months since I did a live video. So if I bumble over my words a bit, I'm sorry. I'll get into the flow. So we have a cup of milk mixed with a 1/3 cup of flour. It's always interesting getting used to a new kitchen. Just the flow, where everything is, the space. I have, I'd probably say 1/8 of the space that I had before, in terms of areas to prep, and also to keep dirty dishes and clean dishes, because I do not have a dishwasher. I actually don't have a microwave either. Not that I would need one anyways. But yeah, just kind of going back to basics a bit, and I like that. And in the background, I have a couple of large bowls nested into the kitchen sink, where I will toss my dishes as I go here to make cleanup a little bit easier. All right. Hopefully the music's coming through okay. Yeah, I just about hit the point of zen with all of my main ingredients for baking and whatnot within reach. All my spices are up to the right, flour and sugars and baking mixes, that type of thing, are to my left. So what I'm doing here is I'm just mixing milk, and I'm assuming milk with the flour, and I'm assuming this is going to create a type of roux, without fat. So I'm really curious to see how this goes, especially considering Parmesan is added to the mix, and Parmesan is low fat, no fat. Not something that I would think would render much fat. So they said to mix this together, get all the lumps out. And I use a fork for this, but certainly a whisk or a little whisk would work as well. And in the meantime, 3 cups of milk are coming to a boil over medium-high heat. So basically, we're scalding the milk. Now, something too, you may want to verify this, but I've learned that people who are lactose sensitive or lactose intolerant can actually tolerate milk that's been scalded. I'm not exactly sure why. I know that with baking and making certain kinds of bread, if you scald the milk, I mean, it makes all the difference with flavor. And I'm not sure of the chemistry behind it, but it really does work. And you don't want to, there's a real interesting tipping point with scalding milk to where kind of a skin will form on the surface as you're going, and you can go too far and burn the milk. So you certainly don't want to do that. So once this is mixed up, I'm going to kind of start whisking the milk over the burner, and hopefully everything will time perfectly to where I don't scald anything and I keep it nice and warm. So this recipe also includes 2 cups of freshly cooked rice, 3 cups of fresh broccoli florets, 3 cups of shredded cooked chicken, 1.5 cups shredded mozzarella cheese, 3/4 teaspoon of sea salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of ground black pepper. And basically, you add all of this to the pot and mix it up as you go. I probably will add the chicken last once the cheese has an opportunity to melt. And beautiful thing is you put this into a frying pan, and then you top it with French fried onions and some additional shredded Parmesan cheese, about 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese, 1/2 cup of French fried onions. And that is my well, not secret ingredient, but that's usually the ingredient that pulls my kiddo in when it comes to casseroles. So that looks pretty good. A little lumpy, but it'll all mix up. Okay, now with scalding milk, they do have something called the knuckle test. And that basically means you bring it to a boil for 1 minute, and then you set it aside. And then when you can dip your knuckle in there and hold it to the count of 5, that's the proper temperature. I think it's been a long time since I thought about that, so hopefully I'm not mixing you up by giving you too many weird directions. Let's see here. So we're going to reduce this to medium heat. Once it gets to a boil, we're just about there. In the meantime, I'm going to grab my cheese and chop up my chicken. I already shredded the Parmesan cheese and chopped up the broccoli, and I cooked the chicken last night just to make this a little bit easier. The thing about this whole casserole going into a frying pan, that's kind of a fun little detail, because you pop it into the oven to finish it off, and I'm really curious to see how that works out. I'm certain you could use a casserole dish as well, but maybe there's something a little old school to this that I am not aware of. But I'm game for it either way. So let's go ahead and get this chicken chopped up. And 3 cups, I believe. And I found some lovely chicken thighs, and I lightly season this with the seasoned salt mixture that I usually use because it's yummy. Today is a pretty rainy day in the Pacific Northwest. So it's soup and casserole rather, as far as I'm concerned. So this is going to be kind of perfect to get together. Am I boiling? I'm boiling. Okay, and it said to gradually add this mixture. So here the gradual goes. Whisk it. A little lumpy. Maybe this just kind of creates more of a traditional white sauce. I believe a roux, based on the word, is a French technique, and gotta love French cuisine and how they use butter. But I'm really curious to see what this does. So we'll let this kind of go over medium heat. My burner runs kind of hot, so I'm going to kind of knock it back to about a 4. And we'll kind of let this do its thing until thickened for about 2 or 3 minutes. And in the meantime, I will return to chopping and throwing the fork. Probably could have saved time and maybe made myself a little less nervous if I had chopped this in advance. But what I find is I like the meat to be cold when I chop it into squares. It tends to just hold its shape better. If I cut it when it's fresh out of the oven, it shreds it, which is perfect for certain recipes. But for this one, I wanted some texture in our casserole. Something that I like to do, let's see, when I'm pre-baking things like the chicken, it goes into the oven for about an hour at 350 Fahrenheit. And so often what I'll do is I'll make a couple of things at once just to kind of conserve power, so I'll heat up what we're going to eat that evening at the same time, and so kind of piggyback the power usage. Kind of a nice little trick. I always have a big flurry of dishes at the end of my cooking, just because I kind of do it. It's probably specifically because I do it that way. I have no idea if anybody's even watching this right now, or if there are any comments flying. Hopefully, if there are comments flying, please be kind and polite to people and to me. If you've got a kind of a yucky attitude today, kindly excuse yourself from the kitchen. If you've got a great attitude, you could give it a thumbs up or chime in. I'd be also very curious to see if anybody has made this kind of a casserole and how they prepared it. Oh, there's the skin forming. Oh, there. It's getting nice and thick. Okay. And the rice is just about there. Yep, it's looking good. Let me go ahead and take that off the heat. Start with the rice so you're ready to go. Usually I cook rice in advance as well because it seems to kind of act better in recipes and keep its shape if it's cold. But certainly I didn't do it this time that way this time, and it looks like it's working out just fine. Interesting mishmash of music tonight. Country and there we go. I'm going to add the seasonings now. Why not? Sea salt, 3/4 teaspoon again, and 1/4 teaspoon of ground black pepper. I'm not too keen on pepper, to be honest, but I'm sure that adds something beautiful. All right. Mozzarella cheese is coming up. Oh yeah, that's thickening just beautifully. I'm excited for this. Now, it also doesn't say if I prepare a pan with butter, but just because I'm quite a fan of butter, I'm going to do it anyways. 1.5 cups of mozzarella. And at this point, I think I'm going to lower the heat because I don't want to go further. I don't know how thick this is going to get. That's a lovely consistency, not lumpy. A little trusty spoon. Add maybe 1/2 cup at a time. This spoon, I have a partner spoon to this that has a little butterfly on it, so my kiddo drew a butterfly on this one. I love those kinds of little surprises. Kiddo with a Sharpie. It gets real and it's permanent, but I have a feeling I'm just going to love that forever every time I cook. All right. 1 cup's in. Boiling stopped. Ooh, I'm seeing some brown. I hope that's not what's burnt, if it's not burning on the bottom. Since this is the first time I'm making this recipe, I'm actually taking notes as well. Yeah, this is just a stand-up cheese sauce. And it looks like it is kind of burning to the surface or to the bottom just a skosh, but not enough to change the flavor. So I'm going to drop this to low heat and make a note to myself. Okay, drop to low. And adding cheese. Now, I might have said that I was adding Parmesan cheese and misspoke. It's actually mozzarella that's going in here. And Parmesan will be sprinkled on top with the crispy French fried onions. And thing to note too with a cheese sauce is the cold cheese will kind of chill the sauce as it goes, or as you add it. I add it in bits so it doesn't clump up. But you want it kind of nice and velvety smooth. That smells wonderful. Oh yeah, that's velvety. Look at that. All right. And we'll see how long this live stream goes. If I have somewhere to be at 5:30, so if I have to cut it short and I'm not quite there yet or finished, I apologize, but I sure hope I can make all this in under an hour. Probably could shave some time off here and there by just doing certain things in advance. Okay, chicken is chopped. We want to add we already added the salt and the pepper. So I'm going to go ahead and add broccoli. They're huge chunks. I could have gone smaller, but I kind of like the huge chunks. Boop. Oh my gosh, not that huge. It's a straight up broccoli head right there. This is kind of oddly fun. It is like having someone else in the kitchen. Part of my work actually is working in this amazing kind of commercial meets industrial kitchen that is just, it's amazing. It's like cooking in, I don't know, it's the neatest kitchen I've ever cooked in. And my favorite part about that is the people that I'm cooking with, all the great kitchen wisdom that I glean as we go. I'm going to cut you too. That's quite a mouthful. Yeah. I should have given this a little bit more finer chop. Oh. So you want to actually cook the broccoli until it gets nice and bright and green. And I am thinking that the broccoli will also chill the sauce a little bit as well. Okay. Yeah, you see that cheesy goodness happening there. Yeah, that's just a perfect amount of sauce. Yeah, a little scalded on the bottom, but listen for next time. The heat is all the way on low now, so it'll be just fine. Mix that up thoroughly. And then let that go for about 2 minutes. It says to add the rice now as well. I'm just curious if that is going to heat the cheese up even more because the rice is fresh, is hot. It's freshly steamed. And I'm realizing this right now, but I actually probably going to have an interesting time mixing the chicken into this bowl. Because it's, or this pot, because it's pretty small. I'll give it a go. Okay. I'm going to also preheat the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to grab my nice big pan. I'm just going to use a high-sided frying pan. And dress it up with some butter. I know I've mentioned this before, but I keep a butter bell in the kitchen. It's a really neat little deal. You just replace, that's just cold water. You just replace it every day and it keeps your butter like perfectly soft for moments such as this. And I also have my little trick with a coffee filter. That's how I don't know how many of you are familiar with Paula Deen and her Southern cooking, but she always adds a little bit of butter. And I am a believer in butter, especially with nonstick pans. I think it just adds beautiful flavor and makes them super easy to clean up as well. All right, rice. Rice is going in. I'm going to eyeball this as well. We're looking at 2 cups. This is jasmine rice, which is my personal favorite. I think it just smells wonderful, and it just goes, it's so diverse, flavorful. I do not at all like instant rice. So you will not see me using that in the kitchen. I don't recommend it either. I don't think it has any nutritious or nutritional value that's not been added or re-added to it. There we are. Yeah, it's going to be nice and hearty. Give that a good stir, and it looks like the broccoli is turning into a nice bright green. Make sure you scoop or mix evenly. Oh yeah, that's just getting nice and creamy. Okay. I'm going to add the chicken in bits here. stages and mix it in. I love these little cutting boards or mats because you can bend them. Yeah, it's gonna work. I don't know. Would you eat this if you were 6 years old? I think I would. I'm going to do a little bit more reading on the base, the way that sauce was made. That just seems like a really old school way of doing it. Otherwise, if I didn't do that, then would not need, or this would be a pretty low-fat recipe because low-fat cheese and both mozzarella and Parmesan, as well as no butter, but I can't help but sneak it in there. I will very rarely forego flavor. And even with the chicken, I always bake the chicken with the skin on, and of course drain off the fat and pat the fat off the chicken, and cut it off before serving it. But I do believe that the fat renders pure, beautiful flavor. There it is. Okay, now we're just waiting for the oven to be preheated. I probably should have gotten a better jump start on that. So we'll take this out of the way. Probably wouldn't hurt to have that butter melted a little bit. Transfer it to a stainless steel pan. I would not, I don't know if you can, but I wouldn't use a non-stick pan in the oven. I just wouldn't. And you might want to just have a double check on if your pan can go into the oven, because wouldn't want to destroy a pan, especially over a casserole. Yeah, if anything, that slightly, I wouldn't call it burnt bottom, but slightly browned bottom might add some yummy flavor. Okay. Oh, that's good. That's good. Yum. Okay. Time for the French fried onions. This is also something I like making them myself if I have time, and oil to fry in. But basically, it's a blooming onion. If you've never been to Outback Steakhouse, it's basically a deep fried, seasoned and breaded onion, and it's amazing. It opens up like a beautiful flower bloom. It's great for nibbling, as a little appetizer. And it's also great to, ooh, skin there. It's great to dry and, or even use as it is for topping casseroles. At Thanksgiving time, I definitely make the blooming onion, and we have a little bit of a snack on that. And then whatever is remaining is used to top the green bean casserole. Now, the recipe just calls for half a cup, but I like these. My kiddo likes these. So we're going to go nuts on that. Yeah, why not? Add the rest. I have backups. There are certain things I just do not run out of in the kitchen, and this is one of them. In fact, the other night I caught her in the kitchen snacking on these like they were chips. Kind of don't blame her. Okay, and last but not least, Parmesan cheese. And this calls for a quarter cup, and that's what I'm using. And that's going to be really pretty. It's browned. I guess I can take the opportunity also to introduce one of my other favorite tools in the kitchen. This is a zester / grater. It is planer. It's incredibly sharp, but you can, oh my gosh, you can do all sorts of things with this. Parmesan cheese is a breeze. Garlic is also a breeze, even though the chunks are a little bit bigger than usual, but it's great for soups. Zesting lemons. I love making lemon meringue pie or using lemon in any kind of baking. And this just makes it super easy to where you just have to take one pass on the lemon and you have zest without the pith. Okay, I'll just wait for a little moment and do some dishes while that oven is preheating. Oh, speaking of, it's preheated. Now, this is going to go in the oven as is. Note to you, anytime you do put a pan in the oven, you're going to be tempted, especially if you're rushed, you're going to be tempted just to grab the handle to take it out of the oven. Okay, I did that once. I didn't get a full grip, thank God, but I got a really nasty burn on my hand. So use a pot holder, save your skin, save yourself. So let's go ahead and pop this in 400-degree Fahrenheit oven for 15 minutes or until bubbly. And it's heavy. Holy cannoli, that's heavy. All right. I'm going to set the timer. And now we wait. So it wants you to bake it for 15 minutes or until it starts getting bubbly. And then you want to increase the temperature to a low broil and cook for an additional 1 to 3 minutes, and so you can slightly brown the top. Of course, once you take it out, you want it to cool for 5 minutes at least, but I'm going to let it cool for probably 15, just so I'm curious to see how it sets up. I don't want it to be like just a blob on a plate or in a bowl. I want it to kind of stand up a little bit. And it's also going to be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. I'm sure the flavor will deepen when it's reheated. I'm sure everything will the flavors will have married really well, but I'm also wondering if it's going to be too thick. We shall see. So I can fill the time and space in between here with some dishes and some chit chat. Certainly don't mind that. I don't really call this out in any shorts or videos, I don't think, but I'm going to call it out now. I use mason jars, both pint and quart, and even 6-ounce, like jam mason jars. I use them for drinking everyday things, as well as food storage, and I use them in my lunchbox. It's amazing. They tolerate a really high heat. I got these neat lids that are spill or leak proof, and they're keeping up really well, especially after a year. Just make sure that's nice and tight. I've kept juice in here, smoothies, all different kinds of things. But it also works conveniently as a bowl, so I've even jam-packed some salad in there. A little tricky stirring, so I would recommend a quart jar if you were to do a salad. But the lids come in 2 sizes as well. And you have kiddo size too, which is kind of nice. And as an added bonus, I'm not sponsored by anyone, of course, but I do love Ball products. And so these are Ball jars and Ball lids, and this is a neat little number with a straw. It's not a sippy cup, it will spill, but that kind of works for a little mobile nibble for a kiddo. So I am just going to fill this little jar with the remaining rice, and this goodness probably will, well, maybe I'll just mix up a quick little stir fry for lunch tomorrow after all this has a chance to chill. I don't know if you can see that or not. I am again not monitoring any comments. I don't know if anybody's in the room. If you are, hello. Another nice thing about using mason jars for storage is you can really fit a lot of food in your fridge. You can stack them up, or you can lean them on their side and just really jam pack it in there. Okay. Oh, and I also would not, this rice is still hot, so I would not put it in the fridge covered yet, because at the steam that would gather on the lid, that actually can create a bacteria over a period of time. This is going to be eaten really fast, so it's not so much an issue. But I just usually, if I've got kind of hot or lukewarm food, still warm food, I'll just pop it in the fridge as is. And about an hour later, I'll pop the lid on and seal it off. It might be a little, might be able to smell it in the fridge for a little moment, but it'll go away. No big deal. You can see it's pretty hot. Steam is forming as it is. And rice particularly, you want to be careful with this. Apparently bacteria grows really fast on rice. So that goes in the fridge. Okay. That for later. Oh, I can smell the French fried onions. That's nice. I got a new pot holder. And this is what I use to pull things out of the oven. Happiness is indeed homemade. Now, as a casserole, this is great, like on its own. But one thing I probably will do after this comes out of the oven is whip up some biscuits. I'd love to make buttermilk biscuits, but I'm actually out of prep space, and I do have some dishes behind here that you can't see, and thank God for it, because it's a tower, leaning tower, Pisa. So probably what I'll do is just a nice, easy cheddar bay biscuit. I love these. Let's see. Yep, I have cheddar. I have everything I need. And the oven is hot enough, so it's actually a good combination. Okay, so while I'm waiting for that to finish, I will whip up some biscuits. 1/4 cup butter. Again, as I do not have a microwave, I melt butter the old-fashioned way. I am looking to, well, keeping my eye peeled for the perfect little pot, or stovetop pot to melt butter. In the meantime, I will use my other trick in the arsenal, which is Pyrex bowls. These with lids, a nice, what is it? No drip lid. This is what I also use exclusively with mason jars. I put all leftovers in there, anything that needs to be reheated. This is oven safe. It can handle a lot, and microwave safe too. Not the lids, of course. So what I'll go ahead and do is get this whipped up, and I'll melt the butter in the oven as we go. I actually am kind of lucky because I have some pre-shredded cheddar cheese. It's actually Monterey Jack and cheddar, so it's going to be very colorful biscuit. Okay, easy peasy. Pop it in while that's in the oven. I would not touch the hot pan with the glass though. And also with Pyrex, I have actually shattered Pyrex. I put, let's see, it was a nice big 11 by 7 baking dish, glass, and I had a glass or ceramic stove top, and it was hot from cooking. I had used all the burners, and I was just in a hurry doing dishes. I washed that casserole dish, and then I set it. It was freezing cold, and I set it on top of the ceramic stove top, and poof, it shattered like a firework. So a lot of these little tips and tricks that I give as I talk, they're a lot of them are learned from the School of Hard Knocks. So like, I guess how this would apply, if you use Pyrex for food storage, take it out of the fridge about for 5 at least, maybe 10-15 better minutes before you pop it into a hot oven, because that goes through my mind every time I heat up my lunch in an oven. Funny what you remember. Okay, so I wish I could make these Red Lobster cheddar biscuits from scratch. The closest I've gotten is an experiment with buttermilk biscuits and my own garlic butter. But it just, yeah, it wasn't the same. It was still delicious. And I'm still kind of, I'll give it another go and see what happens. Okay. Cheese. I'm going to start with the water. 3/4 cup cold water. I love being a scratch cook and home style cook, I guess. So it's really kind of foreign to me to reach in the cabinet and grab biscuits, pre-made, a box of biscuits pre-made, let alone a tube of biscuits in the fridge. But I just really am very busy these days, and I still love good food. When I have more time, I kind of look, well, cooking is my hobby as well as, well, it's essential to living, isn't it? So I find on days where I have more time to dedicate to cooking, I totally will, and I'll make it from scratch, just for fun. And I do not mean to be cocky, but I find that sometimes certain things that I make from scratch, I actually kind of prefer them. I don't know what it is. There's a lot of additives in foods in general, or processed foods, and so I think maybe taking that out of the equation, I think you can taste the difference. Yeah. Either way, if you're in your kitchen and you're cooking, keep at it. Keep at it. I'm going to prepare a baking sheet with some parchment paper. Ooh, and I can smell those French fried onions, so I have a feeling I'm getting right close. Right close. Is that's still hot? This is what it looks like. They say don't overmix, so I am not going to. Okay. You know what? This browned up beautifully. I'm not going to go any further. There it goes. And you'll find it. You know what? I also tend to leave the pot holder on the handle of the pan when I put it in the oven, because that's actually how I burnt myself. It wasn't taking it out of the oven where I burnt myself. It was just grabbing it and, trying to serve it, I think. And same goes with the butter here. I didn't melt it all the way because you don't want to brown your butter, even though you certainly can, and that might add some beautiful flavor. Just give it a swirl. This Pyrex is super hot. These biscuits are a little dry, so I'm going to add a little more water. And what I found with these cheddar biscuits too, specifically this brand, is if I do let them sit for a little bit, they actually kind of turn out better. I don't know if it just allows a little bit of time for the baking powder in it to activate. So you just take a generous scoop like that and I use 2 spoons. I load it up on the big spoon and then slide it off with the small spoon. Keeps them kind of uniform. Go. They're so quick. I am, just like with cookies, I try to keep things as uniform as I can. But in all honesty, it's going to be delicious either way. And I usually, because time is pretty limited, I'm just more concerned about getting things onto the plate at the same time. That's actually more my concern, is the timing. A little extra there, a little extra with you. Okay, pat those out just a skosh. Right, cheddar biscuits. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't raise the temp to 425, so that'll just actually. Oh, well, look at that. It stayed at 4. It was pretty hot, so I'm just going to go ahead and pop those in. What do I do? About 14 minutes on the clock. I think I'm actually getting nice and close. So let's have a look-see on that casserole there. Oh, one last bit. This mix, it's a garlic butter, and what you do is when you take the biscuits out of the oven, you baste them with this garlic butter right as you bring them out of the oven, and it just absorbs that yummy flavor, and it just really adds something. So this will just be ready to go once those pop out of the oven. All right, so I'm getting close on time. I'm going to bid you adieu. But first, this turned out well. I am going to take off the directions about putting it under the broiler because 400 degrees was plenty hot, and it very well could be the fact the pan that I'm using, the high-sided pan even, maybe, brought it to temp quicker. That could be the case. So, breaking my normal rule of thumb to see how this sets up. I do want to see how this is plated when it is hot. It's been sitting for a few minutes. Oh, look at that. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, put that on the bottom. Oh yeah, I like that. I'm gonna have myself a little nibble. All right, but thank you for joining me this evening. And gosh, give this a whirl: Parmesan chicken and broccoli casserole. And I wish you well, happiness, and good health. And I need to stop this somehow. Stop streaming. Okay.